This would be considered logged turbine hours.
Have you ever dreamt of racking up your turbine hours quick and cheap? Well, I'm here in Trenton with Dwight, and behind us is the Mosquito, which is a turbine.
Well, behind us right here is we refer to this model as the XET, the T standing for turbine. This is powered by a 95 horsepower T62-2A1 turbine. We've been building this aircraft probably about 15 years.
All right, so the first thing I noticed is this compartment down here. It's very close to the ground. So what is it?
This is actually the auxiliary fuel tank. So the main fuel tank is up here in this bulbous area you see here. There's 12 gallons of capacity in this tank, and there's additional 8 gallons in the auxiliary fuel tank.
How much further am I actually going to be able to get with the auxiliary tank compared to just the normal fuel tank?
It's about 45 minutes of additional flying you're going to get with it.
All right, so looking at the helicopter, I can see there's a belt drive system up here. How does this work?
Well, traditionally in a helicopter, the most expensive part in a helicopter is the transmission. They're custom built for particular size helicopters. So what we've done is gotten rid of the transmission and used those reductions as belt drives. So if you notice, there's a primary reduction down here off the engine. So you have a 6,000 RPMs coming off the engine, reduced to 2,750, which is what the tail rotor spins. Then that same RPM runs up and it's reduced on the secondary reduction, which reduces the rotor RPM to 590. And so that's the most inexpensive way to transfer those reductions and get away from the expensive gearbox. You'll see on the top there's 2 belts. That is for redundancy, but it's also there because in this helicopter, engineering-wise, everything has a 2X or larger. So for instance, this rotor shaft is a 10X. It's 10 times, has more structural strength than it is required to fly this aircraft.
Wow.
So we want 2 on everything on this. So it's twice as strong as it needs to be. So if we were to put a single belt up here this wide, we could not reach 2. We'd be somewhere around 1.5. But if we do 2 smaller belts, we're actually about 2.5.
So you spoke about redundancy. So does that mean it can fly on 1 belt?
If you were to lose a belt, yes, the other belt would carry the load.
And what about an engine failure? Does it have like auto rotation features like a normal helicopter?
Yes, it does. It has very good auto rotation characteristics. If you're interested in that kind of a thing, I strongly recommend you go to YouTube. You'll see guys doing 20-foot hovering autos, which is virtually unheard of, even in the certified world.
So this turbine helicopter, even though it's super small, this would still count to your turbine hours in a Jet Ranger.
So in the US, if it's a registered aircraft, even if it's experimental, any hours that are logged are considered logged hours. So this would be considered logged turbine hours. And why that's important is for insurance purposes, because if you wanted to get a job to fly a Bell 206 around, say, it's very difficult to get insurance to fly it if you don't have at least 500 hours logged turbine time.
So this is a beautiful little aircraft here, and they come here to Trenton to have a look at one. So what sort of dollars are we talking for an aircraft like this?
On the turbine powered one, the kit currently is $70,000. Now on that kit, it's the only kit we sell that does not include the engine. And the reason is the engines, they vary in prices considerably. But the average price for the engine is another $25,000.
And do you guys also offer factory build assist?
We do. We have a factory build assist program where the owners can come spend a minimum of 2 weeks with us, and that gets them enough time logged in the aircraft that it qualifies them for FAA rules in the United States for the 51% rule.
All right, tell us about the interior. So what do we have in here?
Well, it is a helicopter. A lot of guys look at this and they think, wow, it's kind of a toy, how the controls work.
Yeah.
Well, they work identical as you would with a traditional helicopter. You have what's referred to here as a cyclic, which means cylindrically, you can fly in any direction you move the stick, forward, backwards, left, right. On this hand, you have what's referred to as the collective and the throttle. This is your throttle, this is your collective, this is your up motion and your descent.
I'm 6'2". Can I have a look if I can actually get into it properly?
Yeah, let's give it a try. The easiest way to get in, so if you take the cyclic, push it forward, pull it this way, grab it like this and lead in with your foot. Don't try to go your butt first or you're going to look like an idiot trying to get in there. And as you get in, you're going to aim the center of your butt for the center of the seat.
Right, that was pretty easy actually. That wasn't that bad. I've got a bit of headroom above in case of a bit of turbulence. how much weight can this actually carry? Like how heavy can you be to be able to still fly it?
The pilot limitations are 240 pounds. The 240 pounds is, the aircraft can pick up much more than that, but the reason 240 is the limit is because of trim, weight and balance. So currently, as you're sitting here, you can see you're sitting forward of the mast and you're going to trim the aircraft out. You exceed that 240 pounds, there's going to be too much weight forward and there's no way to counter it in the back. But as far as power, there's plenty to do more than 240.
So do you actually have like a height restriction on how high you can fly these helicopters?
It has an altitude compensator on the engine up to 23,000 feet. However, I would say that would probably be foolish to take something this small anywhere near that height because now you're contending with, you know, jet airliners and everything else. But you can calculate that into as if you're in a high mountainous area and you live on top of the mountain. It gives you an idea.
So this helicopter is just so small, there's not even any doors on it. Can you just get in and fly it, or do you need some licensing?
Now this would require a certificate. Here in the States, the minimum would be a recreational rotorcraft certificate. A lot of guys that are going for, say, commercial ticket, they need to build turbine time. It's very difficult if you have a commercial certificate to get a job if you don't have logged time in turbine. Some guys will use this to build time so they can actually get the job that they're after in the commercial world.
All right, so I'm guessing the main reason why people might buy something like this, especially the turbine version, is just the cheapness of it. So how much money does it cost to run?
Well, this aircraft here in the States, I mean, obviously fuel changes everywhere you go, but we average about $50 an hour. That would include your rebuild time, your TPOs on the aircraft for the life of the aircraft.
So what about the overhaul aspect of a helicopter? Because that can get pretty pricey. So give us an example just on the rotor blades, for example.
Well, what we do on our aircraft is we TBO everything in the drivetrain at the same time. We don't sparse it out because it gets kind of complicated for people. So we call TBO on this aircraft at 500 hours. That's all belts, all bearings, and all blades. Currently, you're looking at about $15,000 to do that in 500 hours. The average flyer in the United States puts 50 hours a year on it. So it's a 10-year process, right?
How far can I get with the range?
Well, this aircraft is going to burn between 11 and a half, 12 gallons an hour, depending on weather conditions, obviously, and how you load it. With the aux tank, you got 20 gallons on board. An hour and a half flight time between fuel ups.
And how fast are you going?
The V&E, which is velocity never exceeds 110 miles per hour. Most guys like to cruise at about 85, 90, somewhere in there. But the guys that they're in a big hurry, you can run it all day long at 110 and you're not going to hurt anything.
All right, so what about transporting them around? So if I want to get from this side of America, so Florida, over to LA, how am I getting it there? Do you fly it?
We have had guys do cross-country flying, but that's typically not you know, the norm. So normally they're small enough they can be trailered, and there's several examples of trailers here. The helicopter actually measures 21 foot 9.5 inches in length. So most of these trailers you see here are either 22 or 24 foot in length, and these guys will just roll them in, strap them down, and go to their next location and roll it out and fly. You don't have to take the blades off or anything like that in order to transport it.
All right, Dwight, thanks for letting me come up here to see where you guys make them and showing me around this beautiful aircraft.
Yeah, thanks for coming.